Menace 1-5. Hostile forces are attacking the outpost. Eliminate all enemy units and protect those civilians.
Hello and welcome to a video for the 6thAxis.com. I am Stefan, or maybe you know me as Teflon, and today I am joined by Dave. Say hello, Dave.
Hello.
So we have both been playing a bit of XCOM 2. You've been playing more than I have because I've been busy with a few other games for the site. And yeah, this is the sequel to Firaxis's 2012, I think it was, reboot of the classic XCOM series. And I think the good place to start, which I hope you agree, is with the story, because this doesn't follow the original series and that story where humanity just has to get into the sea. And it doesn't... because the surface is polluted, not in the more modern terminology. And it doesn't even follow on from the ending of XCOM Enemy Unknown. This is kind of a bad ending.
Let's put it this way. If XCOM Enemy Unknown was the aliens are coming, XCOM 2 is the aliens have not only landed but have taken over everything, and basically the human race is screwed.
But on the plus side, most of the human race doesn't realise it's screwed. So,
no,
you know,
absolutely not. They're benevolent dictators, as they were, the aliens, and the people are very, very happy with their situation for the most part. Apart from the Resistance, which is basically what you play as in XCOM 2, which are essentially made up of the remnant of the old XCOM project. But you get like a small introduction where they break out the commander from the first game, and you get the obligatory welcome back commander, and they're happy to see you back, but they're wondering what happened to you for the past 20 years in that chamber.
Yes. Well, that's something that you figure out fairly quickly. So.
Oh yeah.
But basically, you are now tasked with running a worldwide resistance as opposed to, well, you know, a worldwide defense network. So you are kind of doing hit-and-run attacks. You don't have a central base like you had in Enemy Unknown. You're sort of moving around the place.
Yep, you're on a massive jet ship kind of thing, and that is your base of operations for your day-to-day business and running the resistance against the oppressive alien armies. It's not that drastically different. The fact that you go around and contact each of the resistance cells in each of the territories, it's a lot more mobile, and you're not reacting, you're actually planning to attack the aliens.
So are you striking like critical blows in each region and sort of liberating them and then building up to this one grand hurrah?
More or less, I have to say. So you basically move into each territory and establish communications with the cells, and the cells then tell you, like, these are where the aliens are being active. They're doing dastardly things like carting around cargo or VIPs or whatever, and as a resistance you're tasked with basically intercepting, wiping out all of the alien forces and scrounging all you can find. They also start building something called the Avatar Project, which is basically a doomsday scenario. You've got a little counter that goes up and up eventually, and if you leave it for too long, then the aliens will complete the Avatar Project and everyone is doomed. So you've basically got to strike where it hurts most, and there are factories that pop up every now and then that you've basically got to blow up to deal major damage to the aliens' Avatar Project.
Yeah, that's interesting. With the actual management of your forces, though, this has still got the same kind of ant farm side-on view of the carrier, hasn't it?
Yes,
yeah.
It absolutely does. So it's a lot simpler this time around, because you don't have to worry about things like, you know, which buildings are adjacent to other buildings too much. There's a little bit of that, but not a massive deal in comparison to the original XCOM Enemy Unknown. So there's a little more freedom in what you build, but it's still relatively basic if you're more used to the old school XCOM, or I believe there's actually another series which takes on what the original XCOM did.
Xenonauts?
I think that's it, yeah. It's a little more basic in comparison to that, but it's still got some neat tricks.
Obviously, a big part of the game is going to actually be the turn-based combat. I'd say the biggest part of the game maybe is the turn-based combat, and I kind of felt that Enemy Unknown got this pretty much right, almost across the board, but Firaxis have taken things to the next level in a number of ways, and especially they've actually added a new system, the concealment mechanic, but that's something that I struggled with to start off with. So how did you feel about that, and just in the combat in general and how that's changed?
So, touching on what you were saying about the original XCOM, I actually had major issues with the pacing, because you were basically creeping up slowly and slowly until you discover the aliens and then try and shoot them before they shoot you from stupidly far away with a tiny pistol and blow each of your guys' brains out, and then you lose the mission. So XCOM 2 introduces the concealment system, which, as it turns out, is a lot better than the original XCOM, because yes, you're the aggressors this time rather than the defenders, which means you can plan out your attacks, and as such you can place your guys in a sort of formation where you can essentially trap the enemy into walking into an ambush. One of my mid-game examples was I had a Mouton and two Advent soldiers just wandering up a road, and I'd set up this perfectly constructed ambush, and I took a pot shot with my I think it was my girl with a shard gun, which is a sort of tier 2 weapon. Completely surprised the Mouton and the Advent, and they started running for cover, to which the rest of my squad, who had all in ambush position and Overwatch, decided just to take pot shots, and they were all on the floor bleeding out by the end of it, and that's immensely satisfying when it works out. I mean, a lot of the time, as you say, it's kind of hit and miss as to whether it works out, but I felt you had more control in mitigating some of that risk as a result of being concealed.
Yeah, I think for me it's just finding out the limits of what I can and can't be concealed behind, and where I can go and how cautious I need to be as I'm moving forwards.
I found myself being a lot more aggressive in XCOM 2 than I did in XCOM Enemy Unknown, and that seriously does help with the pace. It really was slow as molasses doing even a single mission in XCOM Enemy Unknown, whereas I can get through like 4 or 5 in a night, because they're quite small, they're quite piecemeal, unless they're story missions, in which case they're, you know, a bit more drawn out. But each of the aliens that you fight are, I mean, they start with just sending a load of Advent soldiers, which are just basic goons. Well,
they do, but I also think it's actually quite bold that they throw one of the kind of redesigned sectoids at you.
Oh yeah,
because they can do mind control right away. It's not just a straight up gunfight. You are having to think about, okay, do I need to prioritize that sectoid, or do I need to kill everything, and like, how am I going to do this?
Yeah, absolutely. And then as you get further and further, you start encountering Vipers, who are essentially what the Thin Men were in XCOM 1, but they've now decided, you know what, we don't need to hide anymore, we might as well show our true form, and they're actually even worse than the Thin Men were.
Yeah, but you do have quite a few new sort of like top tier enemies to worry about as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to worry about in XCOM. It's a very stressful game, but massively appealing as a result. And let's go back onto the Resistance with each of the classes. So there are 4 major classes in the game. You've got like sharpshooters, specialists, ranger, and
I love the ranger.
Grenadier. The ranger has a sword, and
that's it. All rangers. That's it. Just want a team of rangers. Just run in there with swords. And actually, I know that each of your soldiers, the first time that they rank up, they're given one of these classes at random.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then, as they continue to rank up and level up, so for the ranger, like, you always get the sword, but then you can specialise between
dealing more damage with the sword, or staying concealed even when everyone else is detected. There are a few things you can do with the sniper that are absolutely ridiculous. There's a perk called Death from Above, which makes it so that if you shoot something from an elevated position with a sniper rifle and you kill it, it doesn't take up the entirety of your turn. You can still move afterwards.
Yeah, and there's something very similar for the ranger, where if you kill someone with a sword, like, then you get another action point.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you've got the specialist who has a drone that he can use to basically heal, deal damage, aid in the defences, all sorts of things. And also the grenadier has a slot just specialised for grenades, so you can just launch grenades into the enemy, and has a minigun that you can just suppress.
Well, the grenades are actually really good because there's a lot more environmental destruction this time around. Even if you're not killing the person, you can take away their cover, at which point it makes it easier for the rest of your team to maybe deal damage.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we discovered, because we played a couple of quick multiplayer matches, and you might see these in the background.
Yes. The best way to describe multiplayer is it's a fun diversion, but it's not really to be taken very seriously.
No. I mean, on the good side of things, I'd say it's quite a bit of fun to be able to explore and play as the alien characters.
Oh, absolutely. You learn so much when you're actually controlling the aliens.
And so from that point of view, it helps you then in the actual campaign, where you're more aware of what the aliens can do.
Yeah, you're absolutely more aware, and it makes it all the more terrifying, because you now know what they're capable of.
Yeah. And there was a lot of fun that we had when we both went in with the big robots, the name of which I cannot remember.
Sectopods.
We both went in with those, and basically you put your one out in the open, and then I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to walk over to you with my sectopod and shoot you. But I had stood him up, so it was like really, really tall, and it was just fantastic. And you'll see this in the background, where he just shot down straight into its head, into the top of it, basically. And it's like, that's not going to miss, except then later on he did manage to miss. But what's scary about the sectopod is that it can shoot 3 times.
Yeah, sectopods are definitely endgame enemies, and as a result, they're probably the most terrifying. And the fact that there's like a little lightning field, so even if you get close to it, unless you kill it that turn, then
swords.
Yes, as you quite rightly did, you managed to wipe it with a sword.
Yeah.
Because you did.
But yeah, as you also said, it's not a perfect setup. We were talking to each other as we were playing, but there are long waits between you doing an action or your opponent doing an action and then the other person seeing what's happening.
Yeah,
and so I kept on
of about a minute or so.
At times it was a minute. At times it seemed to be like backing up several actions together so it could play them in quick succession. Yeah, it was just a bit disjointed because of that.
So yeah, it's a bit of a throwaway mode, I have to admit, but it's there. You can play it. It's fine.
Alright, that just about wraps things up for this video. Head on over to thesixthaxis.com for our full written review, as well as other reviews, previews, videos, news, and plenty of gaming stuff, you know, the usual sort of thing. Aside from that, we've actually been making quite a lot of videos this year, so please do check them out. And yes, you hear it a lot, but please do also click like and subscribe if you've enjoyed it, just to show that we're doing something right and you like what we're doing. And with that, we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.